Let's talk about my failed Kickstarter. So first off, back in 2022, I ran a collaborative Kickstarter with the artist Sang Lam. We funded the project in about 2 hours, and overall we raised about $25,000 for the project. Now, on paper, this looks good, right? You might ask, how is this a failure? Well, a lot of reasons.
Yeah, we definitely went a little overboard.
And there were a lot of projects that weren't doing well, and I was just clicking on them to see maybe why.
And first off, everybody got the rewards that they backed. This wasn't some like, oh, we ran out of money and we weren't able to fulfill the project. Although this Kickstarter was eventually profitable, the key word being eventually, and I'll address that later in this video. The biggest issue I had with this Kickstarter is it hurt my brand awareness and relatively destroyed my social media reach over the course of about a year and a half. And sadly, as an artist in the 21st century, my income is kind of tied to my social media presence. The initial reason that this project even came to be is I really wanted to get into apparel. I didn't want to deal with sizing and all the complications that come along with that. So I designed this bag.
So we pushed the Kickstarter pretty early on for our fish bag, like months, like 6 months maybe, right? Really early. I think that was another mistake we made.
Did the initial drawings and I was like, haha, this is funny. Wouldn't this be a stupid thing that I could make? And I posted it, and that post did really well. And I was like, oh, there's a ton of like interest in this, which made me think that like this product was gonna do great. I'm like, oh, I'm brilliant. Everybody loves it. Well, before I even launched the Kickstarter, I was starting to notice that interest for this project was starting to wane. This was something that was very different than I had produced prior. Not just because it was apparel, but also aesthetically, it felt very different. It just might not have aligned perfectly with my audience, who are typically used to me posting fantasy illustrations and paintings. You know, nerds. Because this product didn't engage with my community in an optimized way as content, the posts I was doing about it started to bomb. And every time I had a post that bombed, Instagram would punish me for it. And the more posts I did, the harsher that punishment was. And over the span of 3 months, I had lost any favor I had in the Instagram algorithm. I lost almost 90% of the reach that I had beforehand. Algorithms these days are very momentum based. So this lack of reach extended to my non-promotional posts as well. When I started promoting this Kickstarter, my average likes were about 10K a post. And by the end of it, it was around 1 to 2K. And that's a big difference when you're trying to make your living off of a certain platform. It essentially hurt the chances of this Kickstarter succeeding every single time that I promoted it.
The urge when you saw a cool product and you want to buy it now, and then like that keep happening over and over where like they keep seeing it but they can't buy it. And I feel like by the time it's available, people's like backed off about it.
They're over it.
Yeah.
I try to think of it like a teaser for a movie, like an album that's coming up. An artist will release their single. Think of that when you think of your Kickstarter. So I released my first promo image, I think 3 or 4 months ago, just being like, hey, I have this new art book coming out. And then you're planting a seed in people's mind. And then over the next couple months, you're just going to water it. You're going to let it grow on its own. And if people are interested, they'll back it. They'll be interested, but you have to keep reminding them of it. I think one of the downfalls of people doing Kickstarters is they don't push it enough, or they do the opposite where they push it too much and it becomes like someone's yelling advertisements in your face on social media, which people don't like that either. So when you build your marketing strategy, make sure that is not only cohesive, but it's engaging as like content itself. So now what I do is I try to post an image, like when I release an original for the Kickstarter, make that the first image. And then the second one can be like showing the book and reminding people it's on Kickstarter. But try to have the first image always be something that isn't just an ad screaming in someone's face.
With that bit of wisdom, let's pause it right here for a second and tell you about today's sponsor. The Munbin thermal label printer is going to be a great addition to your Kickstarter journey. Not a single drop of ink needed. Here to fulfill your office core aesthetic dreams, this bad boy comes in your girlfriend's favorite color, Froggo, and white. All you need is the thermal labels. It can print any black and white image, which is a sticker-like material, which you can get in all shapes, sizes, and colors, which are relatively inexpensive. This particular model prints in 300 dpi, which is much higher than most thermal label printers, so no fuzzy images. Very little maintenance required. Plug and play is your boy's favorite pastime. Perfect for making shipping labels or other promotional items that you can then stick to your products. And if you don't know where to start, you can download their nifty app that has over 1,000 editable designs that you can use however you would like. It's a great addition to any small business owner's studio, and then you're on your way to increasing brand awareness. I've been very particular about which sponsors I take on this channel, and I highly recommend, if you're running a small business, to get your hands on a thermal label printer like this. Check the link in the description below to get yours today, and thank you so much to Munbin for sponsoring this video. Now, back to the video. Obviously, making custom bags or any apparel is very expensive. The profit margins are very different than, say, artist prints or other items that are really easy to transport and relatively cheap to produce. Now, because this was something that was completely custom, I had to hunt down a manufacturer, get prototypes made, and this process took about 6 months. I tried out a couple different manufacturers, some were better than others, and after getting about 6 prototypes made, I settled on the manufacturer that I felt confident would do a good job. And now I think this was a smart move, because that was one of the few things that I didn't have issues with on this project. But the issue is I wanted to get into apparel. Nobody knows me for apparel. An interest of mine that doesn't really come across in my work is alt fashion. So when designing this bag, I wanted more of a cute aesthetic. One of the reasons that I asked Sang Lam to help me with this project, and she did an absolutely phenomenal job. She designed all the add-ons. She designed the Kickstarter page itself. Any failures on this project, I absolutely think were due to my mishandling of the promotional material that I was pushing out. Obviously, this issue is ultra specific to my audience and this product, but overselling to your audience can be a huge misstep, especially when it's a product that doesn't naturally align with the people who are following you. A couple days into the launch of this Kickstarter, I was very happy that we had funded rather quickly, but I at this point had kind of realized the mistakes I had made. And I started changing up my promotional game a little bit. I started doing paintings, the thing that people know me for, the thing that the majority of my followers follow me for. And although they were still a little aesthetically adjacent from what I normally do, just because the project is very adjacent from what I normally do, these got the most traction, which is cool, but also a little sad because these are the posts that don't even show the product. So if people are more interested in something that doesn't even show the thing that I'm selling, there might be an issue. So I did these 3 paintings. We offered them as add-ons for the Kickstarter, and respectively, the 3 posts that I did of them on social media gained me the most support out of any other posts past that initial one for this project. And this was a complete afterthought. This was like, oh, I should just do the thing that people like me for. And I'm not telling you this to say, don't try new things. Just read the room. After it, another big chunk of supporters I got for this project came directly from Kickstarter. Kickstarter is a really amazing platform, honestly. A lot of people just search for cool projects on there without even knowing who you are. So a big percentage of the funding I got for this project didn't even know who I was and never saw any of these botched promotional posts. So definitely have a solid promotional strategy. However, make sure not to overdo it and make sure it aligns with your audience. Different platforms want to see different things. Promoting those things in the way that those platforms are more friendly towards is definitely something you should think about. But no. That's not my only mistake in this campaign. Between all the add-ons and the extras and even the packaging, I'm really proud of how this project came out. I think we delivered a really awesome reward for everybody who backed the project.
Yeah, we definitely went a little overboard.
Yeah, I think we picked our like price points for like where we wanted to be with like the main bags. When we were setting up the page, we were like, oh, this would be cool to add on. This would be cool to add on. This would be cool to add on. And like they were all like small, cheap things, but they just added up over time, which just continued to cut into profit, obviously making it like a better experience for the people who actually backed it.
You know, as far as our wallets were concerned, in the end.
Especially like the custom packaging, you don't think about it, but it was like insanely expensive for how, yeah. Even we ordered a pretty good quantity and it was still really, really expensive per box.
And that's not like something people keep afterwards either. That's like, oh, it shows up, cool, and then it's like in the garbage. About 2,000 of it went to the prototypes right off the bat, and then another 2,000 of it went to photographing the set design and the actual promotional videos, along with paying the models. So before this Kickstarter even launched, I was out at least $4,000, not counting my labor and time. We were trying to be bougie. Almost all of that initial $25K went just into production of things. Now, that being said, we were able to order about double the amount that we needed. We got a really good price break on ordering that amount of product. The first 2-3 months of running this Kickstarter that was very labor intensive, a month leading up to the Kickstarter, designing everything, making sure the page is ready, then running the physical campaign while it was live, and then once all the product actually did finally come in, packing, shipping it out, delivering it. It was a lot for me and Sang to manage on our own. After all was said and done, it was about 3 months worth of labor that we had essentially made zero money on. Now, because we were able to order extra product with that initial $25,000 that we got, then we could take that product to shows, and that's when we started making profit. All in all, we probably brought in about $50,000 after selling off the entire stock we had. So 25 just went into production, and then another 25 was then split between me and Sang. So I made about, 10, 12K for 3-4 months worth of labor. These aren't great margins. If you've watched any of my Artist Alley videos, you know that we can make more than that in a weekend. So not necessarily the best use of my time. Honestly, I should have just finished up my sketches, done minimal promotionals, launched the Kickstarter, sent them to a manufacturer, and even if we sold a quarter of the amount, it probably would have been far more profitable. There's definitely something to be said about working smarter, not harder.
It took us a while to put together the Kickstarter page. I know we worked on it for a while. You don't think about it that much, but we didn't decide all the details before we did the graphic, and then when we did the graphic, and then we decide the specific info, so you have to go back and re-edit all the graphic and upload it again. So overall it's just time consuming. And I think we made the page pretty cute. A lot of things didn't need graphic. You don't need graphic for shipping or budget, but we made it cute. It's just we put in the effort, but I feel it doesn't fully got rewarded. The page itself also just takes up way much more time than we expected, and then we make a bunch of more stretch goals, which are free if we hit that amount. And so just designing all these new things and try to source different manufacturers, because there's all different products, and try to line them up with production so they all comes in at the same time to be shipped out together. It's just we added a lot of more work on our back that we didn't need to.
So you're about to launch your own personal Kickstarter here this month. It's probably already live by the time that this comes out. I was wondering if there's any changes that you're doing for this Kickstarter compared to the one that we collabed on.
Yeah, I talked to you about this, and for this art book Kickstarter, I decided to not do any stretch goal because production costs for a book is already so high. I think having the art book is also really good as a promotional material, where the fish bag we had to show the bag, so it's hard to make it not look like an ad or a promotion. But when it's an art book and I'm trying to promote it, I'm just showing my work, and
we already run art accounts, so it's not weird to show art. So what is the draw for somebody to say back your Kickstarter now instead of waiting until they know the project's gonna get funded and that the thing is ready to ship?
Yeah, I think the biggest incentive is just the price point of the book. This price will be the cheapest the book will ever be. The goal of the Kickstarter is to raise enough money to produce the book. Since I'm not working with any publisher or editor, everything is on me, and we can't mass produce at the level that they do. And so the price point is a lot higher to produce these books. With the Kickstarter fund, I will probably just break even, and after the Kickstarter, I'll have to probably raise the price a bit more just to make it a little more profitable.
So when does your book launch?
My book will launch July 23rd, and it's going to run for 30 days.
Gotcha. So that's definitely live right now. So if you're interested in Sang Lam's art book, check it out in the description below. There'll be a link.
This time, since I suck at social media, well, the algorithm kind of sucks these days anyway, but I'm just not reaching people, and so I'm relying on two things this time. I'm relying on convention, and that's why I'm deciding to run it before one of the biggest show I have this year, which is San Diego Comic-Con and Otakon. And then my second thing I'm relying on is my mailing list. I've been collecting more mailing lists this year, and it's just like a more direct way to reach my customer.
I would also say tap into external social media stuff. Like, I think mailing lists, people underestimate the power of a mailing list. Especially if someone signs up for, like, if they're at a show, you're at a show, and people sign up for your email, they are very much intending to back a project. Like, they want to be bothered with whatever you're selling or whatever you're promoting. So I try to think of that with mailing lists.
Yeah, it's like a way to avoid the like ever-changing social media algorithm.
You're just you're not playing the game. You're not like trying to please the algorithm and pray for the algorithm lord every day. Whoever signed up for your mailing list is interested in your work. Like, you got a smaller amount of people you might reach than social media, but they're like way more interested in your stuff.
I wanted to like mention when our collaborative one went like finished, and then we were at the first show together, and we both brought the bags. I remember because like my branding is so specific and your branding is so specific, and they're very different. I remember being like, okay, I'm really confident in this product. Like, I think I designed it well. You know, I think we did a good job. And I remember you sold like 70 units at that show, and I sold like 20. And I was kind of devastated. I was like, I designed this. How dare you do better than me? But I think like a big aspect of it was like, it just looked more like your work. The people who were interested in this product were also the same people who were drawn to your booth, where like the people who would have bought it just don't come to my booth to even know that it's there, I think was a big factor.
Yeah, I think the color is like the main reason why it's like fitting on my table, because like it was pastel color beside the brown. They were all pastel color, and it was very fitting on the table. Like,
I'm not known for apparel, you know. It's like everybody who buys from me is like a D&D nerd. Like, they're not running around with fish purses. Other than like trying to blast social media with promotions, which is, you know, in hindsight, never a good idea, at least not to the extent that we did it. I know we really tried to push getting the Kickstarter in front of the alt fashion community, as I had a background working at RuffleCon a long time ago, and, you know, thought I had some connections to that community, and I thought this would be a really cool product to people who are interested in that type of thing. Didn't go all that well, if I remember correctly.
With our Kickstarter, we decided to go very like Lolita core, like focusing, like even in the photo shoot, we went pretty like Lolita aesthetic. And with these photos, which are really cute, I was trying to like join Lolita group and like participate, and also like, by the way, I'm making this cute bag. But I don't think anything panned out from it. Like, some people were like, oh, that's cute, but most people are just more gatekeeping, where it's like, oh, you're not a Lolita brand, you're not like the Lolita brand from like Japan, like why would we care? But some of like the more casual photos that we took, where I was just like wearing casual clothing, I think we should have pushed it more in the casual like type of look. That photo did really well, and I think a lot of people like wanted that specific bag in that photo. So I think if we just fit it with more casual clothing, people can picture themselves wearing it.
Yeah, we try to push a niche community too hard instead of like relying on more general public, which it's like there's more general public people than there are like Lolitas running around, certainly. Yeah, so maybe that was a bit of a misstep in our approach too. I think it was just like an interest we had, so we wanted to kind of like do something within that space. But
so when we have these bags at show, it's kind of funny. Some of the show, we are not next to each other, so we're like somewhere around like different area. So we're like in different area of the hall. And this one time, there was two girls. They were really young looking. They were like maybe high school, early college. They walk up to my booth and they're like, is this your bag? And I was like, yeah. And they're like, do you know Inkwell? And I was like, yeah. Thank God we don't have to like beat them up. And I was like, oh, they thought like you stole my bag.
Yeah, it definitely happened quite a few times. Like, the assumption was, even though I designed the bags and you designed all the add-ons,
Yeah.
everybody just thought it was your product.
Yeah.
And I definitely remember people coming up to my table and questioning me, and it definitely it didn't feel good. Like it made me very quickly not bring them to conventions, even though like, you know, they sold decently well. You know, 20 units a show isn't nothing. But it just like, I don't know, it made me feel so gross, like the accusation or the like, you know, how many people thought that I stole it but didn't say anything, you know what I mean? So it kind of wanted to wash my hands of the project, even though I'm super proud of like how it came out. Like I think it turned out really awesome. That's my apparel journey. You know, let's get back to painting where I belong.
It's kind of the same when you're not there, though. Like, there is also people who are also like, why are you selling Inkwell shit for me? But I think you have it way worse, unfortunately.
Collabs, man.
Collabs, yeah. Punished on both
Yeah, we're gonna
sides.
brand it more. It's crazy because both our names are on them, like right on them. I think honestly, if I had just dropped the product, said nothing, and just posted like the day that it launched and didn't really say anything about it, especially because it was like something very different for me, I think it would have done way better. I think it would have gotten way more traction, and I think the Kickstarter overall would have done better with far less effort.
It's funny because I was scrolling through the other projects the past couple weeks, just seeing what, you know, is current. And there were a lot of projects that weren't doing well, and I was just clicking on them to see maybe why. Okay, here's my number one thing. Lack of photos. If you want a successful Kickstarter, you want so many images that it becomes blatantly obvious to anyone what your project is. And then the second one was, I watched a video, it was 13 minutes long on the Kickstarter page, and it was someone without editing, just talking at the camera without showing anything. And like, that's definitely a no-no. People aren't going to watch your video. Even my video on this Kickstarter, we were looking at it before this started, it has like a 30% watch rate. So even though I think videos are important to some degree, people aren't going to watch a 13-minute video of you just talking to a camera. They want to see the product. They want to see what's inside. That's the whole point people come to your Kickstarter, is they want to know what are they getting. And Dustin was joking that he doesn't even read Kickstarter campaigns. He just looks at the pictures. I genuinely think that's like 80% of people that go to Kickstarter. They just want to see the pictures. So be picture heavy. And then if you are including words, you can bold words within your campaign. I would be sure to highlight just like very quick snippets that can tell the story of what it is quickly.
I'm pretty much already going to back the project if I'm at the point where I'm reading something, you know, illiterate. And then the other thing we were joking about is like, if it's just a video with, like you said, just somebody like a talking head video, like I want to see the product mocked up. Even like, say with like an art book, like obviously you're not going to have the physical thing. Yeah, just some like mock-up of it is going to translate to a higher conversion rate.
Agreed.
And you currently also have a Kickstarter live. Because I think this is your 6th Kickstarter, right?
It's my 6th Kickstarter, yeah.
And they've all funded. Is there any like patterns that you see that has like helped you, you know, confirm those funding goals?
Pins used to be a hot thing like 5 years ago, where anyone that made a pin Kickstarter would do pretty well. But I would say Kickstarter has actually become oversaturated with projects, so you do have to stand out to some degree. So think about that when you're placing your stuff against others. And I think your header image is going to be like invaluable. You want to make sure that that header image speaks clear. And I know even within our own friend group, we will share each other's header image, be like, hey, does this read well? Does this look good? Because that is probably the most important piece to the Kickstarter puzzle.
I think for me also, like when I back a project on Kickstarter, I'm definitely thinking of it like more like a pre-sale than say like funding some project. You know, the original purpose of Kickstarter. I know there's people who are like kind of suspicious or like skeptical of like Kickstarter, especially like in the gaming community and stuff like that, where there's some overlap between like, say, people who enjoy our work. So I think making sure that the product feels like, you know, completely through development and it's just waiting on that money to get like produced.
I'd agree. I think you should be at least 80% done with whatever project you are doing. And that helps with the marketing, because then you can showcase what you've been working in the actual campaign.